Hello and welcome. We're going to write our first custom React hook. So we've used React hooks before, but now we get to write a custom one, and what it will do is keep track of the inner width of this window here. So how wide is the window? Because when it gets too small, what I want to happen is our course slider, I want it to display 2 courses rather than 3, because you'll see if we get small, this starts to get a little bit more difficult to read, and then we'll pop to 2 courses. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to get to this 2 course display from the 3 course display. And we'll need to know the window height. We'll need to make kind of a smarter component in order to do that. So let's get started on that. Inside of src, let's make a new folder called custom hooks. Inside of custom hooks, we'll make our first hook that will be called use window size.js. And we don't have to import React, but we do have to import a few things from React. We're going to use useState, and we're also going to use useEffect right from React. Now we're going to make a little function outside of the function we're exporting. This is like a helper function that it'll use. It'll be called getWindowSize, and it'll be a fat arrow function like so. And all we're going to do here is deconstruct. So we'll take inner width, comma, inner height. We're not going to use the inner height, but I figure if we're making this, it really doesn't hurt to take both. So we'll take that from the window. And then we will return an object with width. That'll be the inner width. And height. And that'll be the inner height. Okay, so what this function is doing is it's getting the window object at any moment in time, and it's returning the inner width and inner height. Now we're going to trigger this function on what's called a resize event. So when the window is resized, we want to trigger this right here. So let's do that with our effect, const use window size. Another fat arrow function, and we can leave it empty, at least for now. And I want to export this default, export default. Use window size. Perfect, we're set up there. Now let's set up our use state. We'll have a const window size, comma, set window size. We'll set that equal to use state, and inside of the use state, we'll do get window size as a function, and we'll invoke it as well. So what this will do here is it will set this window size property whenever we start this up to the result of this function, which will be the window size when we start up. And right after that, we're going to dig into useEffect. So here we go with that. UseEffect is going to look a lot like this. It'll have a little function inside of it. There we go. So useEffect is set up to start some work inside of it. So let's const. We can still add functions inside of useEffect. It'll be called handle resize. It'll be a fat arrow function, and it will set window size with the get window size function. Also within useEffect, but after handle resize, we're going to add our event listener. So window.addEventListener, and what we'll add is a resize event. So resize, and then we will comma to our function to trigger whenever we see a resize event, which will be handle resize. After that, we have to do our cleanup. In our return statement, this is what's going to happen on unmount of this component. So window.remove event listener, because we want to clean up that event listener. And it's resize, and it was triggering the handle resize. Oh, I'm inside the quotes. That's why it's giving me trouble. Handle resize. Great, and we only want this to run once, so in useEffect, before we close it, so after this is done, just comma, and make sure before you close it, you're going to add in an array. This is a dependency array, and an empty dependency array says just run this once, because we only need to set up this event listener one time. So we're just going to run it one time at the beginning. After this, but still within window resize, we're going to need to return something. So let's return window size. There we go. So that'll be the object that we're getting back from get window size. It'll have a width and a height. Let's put this to use right away inside of course slider. The first thing we need to do, let's import use window size from, and then we'll find it. We go up to, and then custom hooks first, and then use window size. Great. Now we have that in. Right after show courses, I'm going to bring this in here. So how about constant will deconstruct width off of this is equal to use window size, the hook, and let's make a console.log width. Let's see if everything we typed there, it was a lot of code. Let's see if it's all working. Here we are now. I'm going to bring up the inspector here. On a Mac, it's Command Option I. And here we are with a window size. So there, the window size changed, and there it is changing. Okay, great. So we're seeing the width changes as we make them. And now we could use them within our app to go from 3 courses to 2 courses in our course slider. Let's get to work on that. I'm going to make it here. That should definitely be 2. I think the breakpoint is in the high 5s, 595, 96, around there. So I'm going to put it below that so we could see if this works for us. So we do have this show courses variable here of 3. I'm actually going to put that under where I bring in width. You put that right here, show courses 3. We'll no longer console.log the width. We shouldn't need to. Now we'll just make a quick if statement. If width is less than or equal to 596, that's our breakpoint, 596 pixels, we will show courses, we'll change what it's equal to, 2, and save that up. There we are. Now we can see that we only have 2 courses showing there. And as you can see, it doesn't exactly look the same as we had here. And that's about the display that we're doing. We still have a grid that takes 3 elements. So you can kind of see that here. There's still room for that 3rd element. So we want to change that when we get to this point, to that breaking point, that break point. So we'll change that here in our SRC. Where are you? That is right. Oh, SCSS, not SRC. In course slider, we want to find courses with an S at the end, the plural. Courses. Here we are. And we want to do some responsive design to it. So we'll do @include, and we're going to include SM for small because that's the 596 breakpoint. And then we'll say grid template columns, and we'll change that to 1FR, 1FR, and that ought to do it. Let's take a look at that. Oh, we can't take a look at that until I run this command yarn run SCSS. Now we're running. We'll save that up, and there we are. We did our big change there. Now if we get anything over that point at 596, I think it was, that's where the change is going to happen. And I think you've seen one more change that I showed accidentally here. When we get too small, what I want to happen is I want them to stack on top of each other, and then we go back and forth like that. I think that'll look good. So let's do that next. So we did include small, and now we're going to include a new one for us. It'll be called TN for tiny. And it'll be grid template columns 1FR, and that should break everything. Good. And that's by design. We don't have this TN. We're going to make this inside of our variables. This is where we're keeping our mix in. So I'm going to make a mix in right here, right on top of everybody else. It'll be called TN. And we need to make a TN screen size as well. So I'll change this to max screen TN. I'll grab this, because this is our variable name, paste it in, and the amount we'll use right now is 450 px, so 450 pixels for that. So we made our TN now. Let's take a look at that on our app. And if we get small enough, now they stack on top of each other, just like we wanted. Perfect. We are really almost there. I'm going to bring this back to being 2 here. Now, another thing that I want is I don't want this to happen. So if we're at the last course, I want the forward arrow to go away. If we're at the first course, I want the back arrow to go away because we don't want to be triggering something that doesn't exist like that. Let's go write some of that code. Head into course slider and we will get to work. So a little bit of dynamic display here. We need to go all the way down to our return statement and start working on our back and our forward here. We'll do the back one first, and right before that, we'll write some JSX right in line here. We're going to say course count. Remember, the course count is the current course that we're on. So if it's triple equal to 0, and it's going to be a ternary, so we will question mark that. What we'll do if it's equal to 0 is we don't want a back one, so we'll just write div, and there'll be nothing in it. Or else it'll be everything from here to here, and I can close it up. So it's either going to give us a div with nothing in it if the course count is 0, or it's going to give us that left arrow. Let's save that up and see if that functions. It does. So now that arrow is gone because we're at the beginning of everything, and now you exist. Perfect. So now we can't go back anymore, which is great for us so that we don't mess up this whole display. Head back in and let's do the forward one as well. So after the slider animates right here, let's write some more inline JSX, and we have a little bit more to write here. So we need the course count, and we also need to add the show courses. So how many courses should it show? Will it be 3 or will it be 2? So course count plus show courses, is that greater than or equal to course copy dot length, so the length of course copy. So what we're trying to say here is if we're at the course count of 0 and show courses is 3, there will be 3 courses displayed. So if course copy dot length is, what would be 2, but there are 3 items inside of it, we're done. There should be no right arrow anymore. That's what we're trying to say with this. And we're using this show courses variable so that it could change with the hook we wrote in the beginning, our use window size, because that variable changes from 3 to 2 when the window size closes up. Let's just finish this ternary. So if that's the case, we want to return nothing, so just empty div. Otherwise, we want to return what we've been returning. So after that, for fa arrow right, the div that closes it should be good for that. Oh, and make sure, don't make the mistake I've just made, put in your colon right there and save that up. And let's see what we're working with now. There we go. We only have 4 courses, so when we reach that, it's gone. Okay, cool. I'm going to make it bigger now, and let's do the same thing. Perfect. That worked out exactly how we want it to. Now there's one more thing I really want to do here. I don't like the courses just ending like this. There needs to be one more slide here saying like see more courses or something like that. So let's do that in the component. So in our course slider component, let's head up towards the top where we made our course copy. And under that, we're going to push something in to our course copy. So we will say course, not x, course copy dot push, and inside of there we're going to push in an object. So make an object, open it up, and we're going to do title. These are all things, if you want to take a look, it's in dummy data. These are all fields in dummy data like we used when we did our course list. Element.position, element.image, element.title. This is going to be one of those things. Here's our element.title for what we're pushing in. It's going to be called see more courses. And we will have a price, and that will be called, how about varies under case. And let's leave a space in between because we'll eventually probably put like a $sign before most of that. So if it's $ space varies, will look a little better. Next we have our author, which will just be our authors because we don't have a specific author. we will have a img, and I do have an image for this. I think it's included called books. Let me just quickly take a look. And imgs, books. Okay, yes, I do have it included. So let's make that img here. In order to get that, we write require, and then we find it. // and let's find it up one more to get to imgs, and then books. Perfect. We're going to have a position element, and we'll just give this one a very high position. How about 999, 999, 999, 999. So that's very, very high. And we'll also make that the ID. So at any point, if this is arranged by its position or by its ID, I'm hoping that this is the largest number and stays at the end. We'll, of course, arrange them by position. Let's make this correction, then save it, and take a look now. There we go. We have our see more courses, but now we have another problem. This can't be added to the cart. That would be a bad scenario for us. We don't want that. We don't want to add this to the cart, so we need to remove this button. So we'll just do a little bit more of that JSX inline, head down to the end of it where the button is. Oh, no, this is our return. So over here where the button is. Here, perfect. Now we'll write here, we'll say element.position, is it triple equal to that exact number, those 9s, copy it if you need to, and paste it in there. Is it equal to that? Then we just want to return nothing, so we'll return the empty div for that. Otherwise, we'll return this input. Make sure you do the colon again. I skipped it twice in a row. And here, let's give that a shot. Perfect. Now we have exactly what we're looking for. See more courses by our authors, and the price is going to vary. One more thing I want to do here, I want to change this so that we can have sale prices. So not only a price, but a price that can be crossed out. Let me show you real quick. Right, like this, and then you'll have your sale price next to it. I think that looks pretty cool, and we ought to do it. Let's make sure I'm importing sale. I'm not in not in courses. Oh yeah. So in courses in the dummy data, I also have something called sale. So sale is the percentage off the course, or how much you're going to pay for the course. It's going to be your sale fee there. And if we take a look at it, let's look in the dummy data real quick. On the bottom, we have export const sale. So the sale is at 0.1%. So everything is 10% of the price that it used to be. We'll go back to our slider and let's make that work. So in our course list here, below our author, below by our author, we have our price. And I'll separate that from everything else so we know what we're working on here. We're working on the element.price. So the first thing I want to do is actually add just a $sign in front of it, because I think that'll look good. And now we want to do the sale price. And there's two questions we need to ask. So in the schema, we'll work on this later, we're going to have a sale opt-in. So if people don't want their courses to go on sale, they don't have to opt in, but we need to keep track of the people who want their courses to go on sale with our sale. So element.sale opt-in right here. And we have to include, and if there is a sale. So if there is a sale, if sale isn't 0, sale is 0.1 or something like that, where we actually have a sale going on, what do we want to do is the question here. So we have this, we'll throw in our question mark, and then I want to open up some parentheses because we have some work to do here. So we're going to design our sale course price. We have our regular element.price. Now, what does it look like with the sales course price? And you know what? Let's take the end of this right here and place it after the sale, and that'll be our or. And we'll cover that with parentheses as well. Very good. So I'm going to take this exact thing and place it up here to start off with, because we do want the element.price here. But we want to strike it, and we want it to be in a position that's different. So here we go. So I'm going to put a span here. We'll have our span, and we'll close our span after it. And this is going to be called a course slider course bottom strike, not the price. So I'm going to take this. Actually, I can take the entirety of it. I have the class name. I'll paste it in the span and change price to strike. Now that's just going to be the strike through the line through the price, saying this isn't the price anymore, and then it'll show us this price instead. Let's do that part. So here we'll just write the $sign and element dot price times sale. Okay, so that's the price times the sale, and that's what will show up. Let's save that and just see what we have on the screen right now. So these are people who have opted into it. You see you have their regular price and the sale price. It's at 10% of the regular price here as well, but we need to make that look a lot better. So let's head into our course slider.scss, and we have to design one more thing, and that's that strike property that we have on course. So inside of course, which is right up here, inside of course where we have forward and everything like that, I'm going to make an end dash dash strike. We'll have a smaller font size. The font size will equal 1.5 rem. We will have a text decoration. That's how you get that line through, and it's actually called line through, so good way to remember it. And then the color, we'll do that same color. Actually, we won't do the same color. Let's make a darker gray so that it has a different tint to it. Let's do color gray, and we'll call it dark, and I will pick that up in a moment because it doesn't exist. And then we'll need a margin from everything because it's smaller, and we want a margin from the right as well. Let's make that 0.8 rem to start off with, and we need to make color gray dark. So you could save that, it'll break everything, go to variables, go to colors, and after, maybe in the beginning more than anything, because this is a pretty basic color, where's gray? Right under gray I'll put it. Color gray dark. And the variable for that is 696969. Okay, 696969. So that's our gray dark there. Save that. Let's take a look, and I did something wrong for sure. Okay, let's take a look. Course slider.scss. I put it in. Oh no, it has to be in bottom end strike, not just courses. My mistake. Let's get the bottom. Okay, now here we have the author. Let's put it after price, so it's kind of where it should be, and save it there. There we go. Now we have exactly what we're looking for. That looks really, really good. But we should also alert them that these courses are on sale. So let's do that in our course slider.js. And here we have the $sign. Before that, I'm going to write sale. Very cool. Now we have that sale. We might need a little bit more room, or this might look good too. I'm going to leave it like this. If someone wants to push more room into it, we could do that as well. So one of the points I wanted to make while putting together all of this big component, which is over 100 lines of code here, and you wind up with your course slider being almost 241 lines of code there. This is why we separate things so much. It makes things easier. And here's an example of what would be easier if it were separated. This function right here. This function can just be two different functions, and that is a better way of writing it than the way that we just wrote it right now. So let's actually change this into two functions and kind of start writing the React way on everything that we can from now on, so we could keep things separated. This is actually pretty easy to redo. So I'll copy this and we'll just make two functions out of it. We'll do change course count up. This will be our forward one, and we can get rid of forward. We don't need it anymore. We need all of the first points of our ternaries. So we'll get rid of the word forward, and we'll get rid of everything after that up to the set time out. Now in set time out, we have if forward. That's what we're worried about. We don't care about the else at all. Get rid of that. And our function is now set for forward, or it has one too many of these. Now our function is set for forward. Now let's do one for back. Actually, we'll just do this one for back. change course count back. So this will be our backwards one. We no longer need to take in forward, and we need to get rid of all the first ones now because this is the backward one. So forward is gone, and so are you. Now in the set timeout, we need to get rid of the if case. So get rid of the if, and I'll keep the else so I don't make the same mistake. Okay, delete that and delete the else. And we look good here. So now we have, well, we have an error. Oh, okay, yeah, that doesn't exist because it doesn't exist. Now we have change course count back and change course count, oh, we should say forward. And I'll put in change course count forward first into the forward one. Where are you? You're on the bottom right here. So change course count forward, we're just passing in E. And now change course count back. We'll go to our back button and we'll do the same thing, just passing in E. Save that up and let's check it out. Still is working perfectly. And we were able to get rid of this ugly piece of code and replace it with two different pieces of code, but they're easier to understand this way and even easier to notate. So it is definitely the preferable way of doing this. If you just made it through all of that, that is amazing. Good job. You earned a break if you wanted, or you could go right to the next lesson. You just did one of the toughest display pieces that we're going to write. There's a lot to that slider. We did animations. We did a ton of stuff. We even wrote a React hook just for that. In the future, we'll be doing a footer. We'll be doing a login, and we'll even be doing a page that's kind of like a sales page that will take the information for each one of these courses and display it in a way that makes people want to buy that course. Thanks for being with me on this one, and I'll see you on the next one.